of course, the most important thing, one of the most important things, is what is in school textbooks and what is mentioned at class. And right now, Hungarian textbooks are very much state regulated. So right now there is like one or two textbooks to choose from, and that's it. And the government tells what is in the book, what should be in the book. And like right now, maybe even more than usual, state narrative is gravitating towards this Turkic heritage. And I'm not saying they are denying that Hungarian is a Finno-Ugric language, and we do have something to do with Finno-Ugric peoples, but they are trying to shift the attention away from it, or presenting the newer findings, because we have a lot of new archaeological findings in Ukraine, Moldova, the Caucasus, and of course there are these new disciplines like population genetics, archaeogenetics. Like they are trying to shed the spotlight on that and away from linguistics, and like act like as if it's these findings kind of trump the linguistic evidence. And this shows in the textbooks, in the way they are written, the way they suggest where we come from. What has been the most, maybe the most successful or widespread, is our school geek project, or how to say, that we did the last two academic years, that we just offered to go to schools and talk about both linguistic affinity and how our relatives, like linguistic relatives, live, mainly in Russia, because that's what they know the least about. And that is something that is I am very much of the opinion that our problem is not that it's hard to learn, it's that we know nothing about them, and they don't know how rich and exciting and interesting it can be, because who we are related to is, with many people, an emotional issue. And that's why I think it's very important to work on emotions towards these people. At these classes, I think they are, how to say, like the youngest age with whom it's worth talking about is at around like 10-11 years old, when they have already like learned another language, and their mind is open to the fact that there are various languages, and they are built in various ways, and they might start wondering like why they differ, how many languages are there. And this is a good way to open them up, like ask like how many languages do you think there are, or like make them understand that not all languages have their countries. And this really gets them excited first, and from this down we can first talk about linguistic families, mostly based on English and German, so to get them a grip on what being related looks like. And then we can move on to comparing words with Finnish and Hungarian. I usually play them a video where Mansi and Hungarian are compared, like they count to 10 or something, point at body parts, so they can really hear it. And of course, if I just dragged a Mansi person along and told them to speak Mansi, they wouldn't get it, but now with these select words they do. And that's important, because the first thing we have to sell them is to prove them that we are actually related, and this is why they should care. If we just started talking to them about Udmurts, it wouldn't stick. So this age group is good for such like they are very receptive to logic and like reasoning, and they take it as a game. So it's really worth talking about this to them. And the other age group with whom it's very fruitful to talk about this is between like 16 and like 18, 19, like late teenage. Yes, because that is when questions of like identity emerge, like who am I, what makes me Hungarian, who is Hungarian, is it what role does language play in someone's identity? Those people, at that exact moment, they are figuring out who they are. So it's very easy to grab their attention with that, and it's much easier or worthwhile to talk to them about growing up as a minority, or like keeping a language versus throwing it away, like future prospects. Or so like what counts as normal. Like for example, in Russia there are many things that aren't necessarily considered normal in Hungary or Estonia or wherever. Or who counts as a cool person is also something that could resonate very well. So what we do with these teenagers is that we first talk about linguistic affinity, and we can make them shut up and listen by telling them that they have to write an exam about this, because they do. But then we can get to the fun part and show them, especially focus on young people, young Maris, young Udmurts, or people who live in Siberia. It really depends on who is doing the class, because I would talk about Maris or Udmurts, but maybe a colleague would rather go with Ugric people, or if we are lucky enough to bring along an Udmurt person or like a Hanti person, then of course that's much better. But that's where we can address the emotions. So it's always very important to bring in as much humor as you can, talking about the first, sauna experiences, or like when they would try to match you up with someone in the village, because if you are unmarried it has to be fixed, and or like weird situations that everybody end up in if you are going to Russia. And then move always to some more serious topics, like how this is actually kind of slowly dying, and so how much people are facing the same dilemmas or challenges of, like, for example, leaving the village behind, or for that matter leaving the language behind. And of course the role of media, like digital media, how important it is, for example, to have like a Mari keyboard, for example, or have a kontaktje translated to minority languages, to have a good pop music scene, have like, I don't know, DJs, rappers. I usually show them the Udmurt Despacito or Super Udmurti, or something that is like they mightly remember from somewhere else, and it's fun that it's about something that they just spent 45 minutes learning about. Or also like Buranovsky and Babushkin, not just the fact that they exist, but like what kind of a change they could ignite within the Udmurts, and like how much of a role it plays in a language's survival and the speaker's identity. So this is what we talk about, and they are usually very, very successful. And of course we don't do really follow-up, so we don't know if they keep discussing about it or they just forget it like after 5 minutes, or if they have a history class later that day and the teacher will say the exact opposite. But the fact that we talk from first-hand experience and the history teacher probably doesn't is already a great trump card in our hand. And we do know from a few feedbacks that like they kept discussing it, or they decided to make it a school play, or some people would, like, I don't know, consider Buranovsky and Babushkin as their as including it in the soundtrack of the prom party, or it's for a fact that we have more people applying for Finno-Ugric's BA minor. We can only listen to, they can only study Finno-Ugric's on a bachelor level in a minor, so we don't have a major. And we have someone who already drew like a cartoon figure of Antal Reguli, and she wants to make these comic strips from his adventures, which is great. I mean, there's so much to write about or draw about. So there is positive feedback, and I think the further we could go from here is like break down these pieces of like this chunks of information and like make videos about them, put them on YouTube, start a channel. I think the most effective we could get from here is, now that we know what we want to talk about, is to digitalize it and have it accessible to anyone who wants to. That's really something that we have been thinking about and really wanting to do right now.